Happy Monday, preschool peeps, and welcome back to How Preschool Teachers Do It. This episode is made possible by Joy Greenberg, our sponsor, who is a wellness advocate for doTERRA oils. And she has given our listeners a special offer for some free product. If you sign up for a wholesale account, you can learn all about it on our website, howpreschoolteachersdoit.com.
So, Cindy, recently I took Rusty to the doctor, and his doctor recommends him to use essential oils for his anxiety.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I didn't even know you could use that for dogs. But if you go on doTERRA's blog, they have a bunch of recommendations on the oils that are safe for pets to use.
Well, maybe they talk about birds too, because I have one that's a little crazy.
Yeah, maybe you could use it for your birds.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good to know. And again, everybody, check our website for that. And now we're going to get into today's topic, which is swearing. We're going to attempt to do this swearing topic without swearing, so stay tuned.
Very difficult.
Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Allison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Allison, how do you feel about swearing?
Oh, I am a big-time swearer in my real life.
Me too. Okay, it's like true confessions on the podcast now, because we don't swear on the podcast.
No, it takes a lot of effort on my part not to swear on the podcast, but I do it because there's times and places where swearing is appropriate, and this is not one of them.
I was just going to say, you know why we don't swear on the podcast? Yeah. We learned it's not a good place to swear.
There's a professional Allison, and then there's normal Allison.
I know both of them.
She knows both, yes.
There isn't that big a difference. I mean, you know.
Isn't there, Cindy?
All right, let's seriously, though, talk about swearing, something Allison and I might be known to partake in.
Yeah. So
in our personal lives and via text to each other. Yeah. Okay. So you know, that we said that we learned there's a time and a place, and I think children need to learn that.
Yes. So one of our listeners wrote in about this topic, how some of these superhero movies have, I guess, a lot of swears in them. And kids are coming to school and also, I guess, maybe trying to either copy the superheroes or whatever. And I always tell kids in my class that those are not words for school, you know, because a lot of them will say, but my mommy lets me say it, or I heard daddy say it, or whatever. I'm like, yes, but it's not a word that we can use at school. If mommy and daddy let you use it at home, then those are home words and you can use them at home, but we cannot use them at school, you know, and because different parents have all sorts of different rules about the language their kids can use. So
it's true. So my house, when my kids were growing up, this was our rule. I didn't want to overemphasize swear words. I think when we overemphasize their use and make a big deal over it, it just happens more and more. Most teachers will tell you that if they make a big deal over a child using a word that they shouldn't be using in the classroom, other than reminding them that that's a home word and then moving on, if people act all kinds of stunned and appalled, they just do it more and more because it gets them something that they want. It gets them attention. And every child wants attention. Yeah. Right. Every child wants attention. So in my house, our rule was this. You can use those words because they're just words, but you are not allowed to aim it at anyone.
Right, which I think that's a pretty good rule because they are just words. I never could quite understand why some words were considered swear words and other words not. I still don't quite understand how that differentiation happened, but it did.
That's an interesting question. I never thought about the evolution of swear words.
Right? I don't understand how this certain word, which rhymes with other words that we have in the language that are normal,
yes.
are not
like. Do you mean like when I drop heavy things on my foot, which I've been known to do too?
Yeah, yeah.
Or I bang my toes. I'm infamous at banging my toes. I don't like shoes, all that. I love to be barefoot, and then I'm always cracking toes on legs of furniture. So let's just say I might curse when that happens.
Right.
And I'm not sure why those words, you're right. Well, how did they become so much worse than any other word I might say? That's a human construct.
Yeah. And then there's also certain swear words which are like appropriate swear words, and others that are like, oh no, you can't use that one. Like that's not like, I don't quite understand it. I mean, I guess that's the whole like evolution of language. If anybody out there knows why that is, please email and tell me. Like, I don't understand it. But I feel like what you're saying when you did with your sons is like, don't direct it at people. That's kind of the way it should be. Like, if you want to swear because you stubbed your toe, okay, fine, go ahead. Like, you're not hurting anybody. You're just letting out frustration. But once you start using that towards somebody, then it gets a little malicious, and you don't want that. So, I mean, that rule makes sense.
We don't want them to be unkind.
Right.
And my kids will still my kids are in their 20s, as listeners who've been listening for a while know. My kids are adults, and they tell people when they talk about their rules from when they were children with their friends. I've heard my children tell their peers, oh, in our house, we were allowed to use those words, but we weren't allowed to aim it at anybody. It was still kind of like their phrase. I think because my husband and I said they are just words and didn't make a big deal, my children actually don't concentrate on using swear words like children who are forbidden might. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And of course, everyone's entitled to make their own rules in their own house. I'm not telling you to change the rules you may have in your home. Here's the thing. Your children will be exposed to swear words somewhere. I fully respect parents who don't allow it in their home. Everyone's entitled to make up their own rules. That's fine, right? But it should be fine with everyone, whatever rules you have in your home. And your children will be exposed to it. It doesn't take away the lesson you may have to teach. If a teacher ever comes to you and says that your child is swearing in school, just know it's not a reflection of what you're doing at home.
No. And I will tell you that people did not swear at my house when I was a kid. Okay?
No, really? No, not at all.
You're surprised, right? I know, because I swear
not because, I mean, my parents, I don't remember. I think my family probably didn't much either.
Right. But I think like they do swear, because my mother swears like crazy now. Okay. I think they just didn't do it around us. Okay. So, but I remember, and this is going to sound so weird, but I remember when I was in 4th grade, I went through this phase of like, I'm going to say every swear word known to man, and I'm just going to do it in conversation. I remember this. And
known to man and woman, Allison. Known to man and woman.
Yeah, that's right. Let's not.
No, we're still wrong. Every swear word known to all genders.
So, and I remember that, and I remember like doing like weird things, and I remember people being like, "Ooh, look, she's swearing a lot," But I think it was because maybe at home I didn't hear it. So I was like, ooh, let me do it at school. I still never did it in front of my parents, though, until I was an adult. Now I don't care. Now my mom's like, oh, you swear all the time. I'm like, yeah, that's just who I am. There's no changing that. Now she knows, like, oh, that's just who Allison is. Like she's not going to change. It's not going to change. This is just who I am. This is how I talk. I don't know where I exactly got it from because my parents didn't do it. But doesn't that tell you, like, if my parents didn't do it, I was exposed to it somewhere. To know all those swear words.
It's in the ether. Right? It's in the ether. It's in movies, on television, peers. It's everywhere. So if even things I never allowed in my home came into my home, there were rules we had for our kids where we would see them do something. We were like, where did you learn that? Because it wasn't from us.
Right. Yeah. There's like playground talk too. I'm sure like if
bathroom talk, we didn't,
talk.
Bathroom talk is another one where the children have to learn there's a time and a place.
Oh, yeah, we have that at our school a lot. I mean, when you work with 3-year-olds, they think it's just funny to say all sorts of stuff. And I like, if you were talking about that because you are in the bathroom and this is happening right now, that's one thing. But we're not talking about this at the lunch table. You know what I mean? Like,
not while we're eating.
I just had this conversation this week in school because they were talking about all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, are you in the bathroom right now? Like, is this happening to your body right now? And they're like, no. I'm like, then we shouldn't be talking about that. People are eating. Have a different conversation. There's lots of other things you can talk about besides that, you know.
They
and
do
like,
get to a certain age though where they just love to bathroom talk it.
oh yeah,
And I wonder if that's like a precursor to swearing.
yeah, they're like the swear words of the 3-year-olds, of the preschoolers. Yeah,
They are.
like,
They are.
potty. It's potty talk. Yeah, it kind of is. It's like the precursor. You're right. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you know,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't stop them as much, you know, because then they know there's this like.
No, I think it's very legitimate if they're eating to say, not now.
Not now. Like, we're not going to talk about this now. I don't want to hear this while I'm eating food.
Or, you know, we could say something to them about, let's talk about something more pleasant. Let's talk about your pets or your family or your, right? You can, I think you have to bring up topics that will intrigue them.
Right.
You know, let's talk about something else for a while because we're still eating.
Yeah.
So what they learn is we don't talk about that stuff while we're eating. There's nothing wrong with that lesson. And there's also nothing wrong with, we don't use those words in school, period, or at home, period. And somewhere where they are, eventually they are going to test it out to see what the adults do.
Yeah.
And now I really want to research, where did this come from? Because you brought it up.
Where did it come from? Like, I don't understand. Like, what makes those words bad? Like, if they're words, they're words. Like, who cares that you use them or not? Like, I don't get it. I don't know. As a person who swears all the time, I would love if all those words just became like normal.
Well, when you're with me, they are.
But I also get this, like, Allison, you should be more ladylike. I'm like, I am being a lady. What? This is me as a lady. Okay.
As a woman.
I get, you know, or I get my mother. This is my mother who doesn't, she's so funny. She goes, Allison, you're never going to find a man if you swear in front of him. I'm like, that's just bull, because the guys I'm talking to are also swearing, Ma, so it's okay. And seriously, this is who I am. So if I don't swear in front of people, and then all of a sudden, say I start to date you, and I'm swearing up a storm, like, really now?
No, like, be who you, Allison, be who you are.
Right?
For them.
That's right.
Be who you are. Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I can't help it. Normally, I'm saying a bunch of swears in this conversation. I'm editing for the podcast. But seriously, like, no, this is who I am. And if they don't mind it, then they can date this. But this might be why I'm still single, guys. Okay. So.
Well, you know what?
Maybe she's right.
I've been known to use these words, and I've been married for a long time. So I don't think that there's any connection here. And I think it just goes back to children understanding different behavior in different places. When isn't it true? I mean, I remember when I was a kid being told this, and I told this to my children. You speak to your friends a certain way. That's not necessarily how you speak to me as a parent.
Yes. Yes.
Right? I remember my father, oh my gosh, especially when I was a teenager, I remember my dad sometimes saying, I am not one of your friends. Don't talk to me that way.
Right. And I think that we need to teach kids that. There is a time and a place that you can talk like this. I don't go into like my boss's office and start talking like this. You know?
They have to know that. They have to know time and place.
Yeah.
But for all behavior, not just swearing. And if we're gonna talk about that superhero thing, there's a lot more than swearing that goes on with the superheroes.
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, they're heroes and all, but there's also violent behavior that children often reenact in classrooms when they're playing in the dramatic play area. Or anywhere in the classroom, frankly.
Anywhere. And like,
I can't hear you, Allison. Did you walk away from your microphone again?
Are you there?
Hello?
I'm there.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. There's lots of behavior that children see in movies and video games and all those places that we have to teach them about. And I think swearing's one of them. Yeah.
I was just going to say about the whole superhero thing, because I know Mr. Rogers, who I am like, he's my superhero. Okay.
Really, he is.
This whole thing about like, you should teach the children who the real superheroes are, and they're not the people who are flying around in capes. Okay, they're like the nurses and doctors and firefighters, and you know, those kind of people are your everyday superheroes, and those are the people that children should see as superheroes, not necessarily like the Superman, Batmans of the world, which is true. But when you have all of this movies and stuff that the kids all want to see, they think of those as superheroes.
Yeah, but don't you think that we have an obligation to teach children that actually the real superheroes are the first responders?
Yeah, the people
and the people who would put their life on the line for us in real life.
Yeah, like the police officers and
they're the real ones. And
to be one of those superheroes.
What? Say that again, Allison.
You could grow up
again. You're not near your microphone.
You could grow up to become one of those superheroes.
Yes, that's what they need to know. You can be a superhero. You're not going to be. Name one. Help me.
Batman.
Thank you. You're not going to be Batman, but you can be a firefighter, and that's a superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
What do we want? So I guess the focus of when people write to us and say, "Can you talk about swearing?" and we say, "Sure." I guess our professional opinion is teach children time and place, and if we make too big a deal of it when they test those words and when they do it, we're just giving them a reward for doing it. So we need to just very quietly say something like, "That's a home word," and then move on with our day.
Yeah.
And to which families are now sitting at listening to this podcast going, "No, please don't send them home with that word."
Oh man.
Or we'll come up with something better to say. Something like maybe that word isn't used in school.
You could simply say that's not a school word, and then they can figure out where they're supposed to say it, and they might not even figure out that they're supposed to say it at home. They might just be like, "All right, that's just not a word I could use then."
Like, sorry, family. Sorry for that.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
Let's, this topic and the topic that there are a couple of topics we've done over the past several weeks that actually came to us from listeners. And I do want to encourage that.
Yes, please do write us about topics. I love getting topics from our listeners. And
let's focus them sending us topics on something like swearing, something in your classroom that happens that is so shocking or has happened that shocked you so much that you weren't quite sure what to do. If you send us stories about stuff that's happened in your classroom and it is rated G and we can put it on the podcast in some way, we may tell your story. So go to our website, howpreschoolteachersdoit.com. Go to our contact form, send us your story, and you never know if you'll be mentioned on the podcast. If it's okay to mention it, please say so in your contact form. And while you're online, please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating and tell all your friends that they want to be preschool peeps too and do the right thing for children.
Yeah.
Say goodbye, Allison.
Bye, peeps.
There you go. Bye. Till next time.